Have you ever wondered why life sometimes breaks you before it blesses you? Why everything you once loved suddenly slips away? Ibruhui, not as punishment, but as preparation. There comes a moment when your soul whispers, enough. Ibrui, enough chasing, enough clinging, enough pretending. In that silence, everything begins to shift. What if the pain you've been fighting wasn't destroying you? It was refining you. What if the ending you feared, Hebrew, was actually the beginning your spirit had been waiting for? Stay still. Listen, because what comes next will change how you see your pain forever. The beginning of awareness, before we begin. Ibru, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly your nose. Ibru, exhale gently through your mouth. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your body soften. Let your thoughts drift away like clouds moving across the sky. Let this moment become still, like the surface of a quiet lake. Now listen carefully. Every soul, at some point in its journey, is brought to a sacred threshold. A point where everything familiar begins to fall apart. The relationships you depended on begin to fade. The dreams you once held so tightly begin to dissolve. And the version of yourself that once felt safe no longer fits. This is what I call the soul's painful test. It arrives not to punish you, but to awaken you, to strip away all illusions so only truth remains. And truth, my friend, is rarely comfortable. It asks you to see what you have been avoiding. It asks you to feel what you have been numbing. It asks you to face the silence that you once feared. When the soul is tested, you may feel as if the ground beneath you has disappeared. You may cry, question, doubt, or even beg for answers that do not come. But it is in these moments of darkness that your inner light begins to stir, because pain has a purpose. It breaks the shell of ego so the spirit can breathe again. You see, life will keep repeating the same lessons until you truly learn them, until you stop asking, why me? And begin to ask, what is this teaching me? Ebrue, every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal, they are not random events. They are invitations, invitations to rise, invitations to return to yourself. When you are in the middle of your deepest pain, it feels endless. You think you will never recover, but one day you wake up and something feels different. The same memories that once brought tears now bring wisdom. The same silence that once felt lonely now feels peaceful. And the same storm that once scared you now feels like it washed you clean. This is how you begin to know. Your soul has endured something sacred. It has been refined by fire, not destroyed by it. The pain was never meant to end you, it was meant to evolve you. So today, as we begin this journey together, Bruhu, I ask you not to run from your pain. Sit with it, listen to it, let it speak. Because within that pain lies your awakening, the key to your transformation. And if you listen closely enough, you will realize, Ibruhu, you were never being broken. Ibruhu, you were only being reborn. The signs of transformation, Ibruki, when the storm begins to quiet. Ibre, when the chaos that once surrounded your heart begins to fade. Hebrew, you will notice something subtle, something sacred. You begin to feel different, not louder, not prouder, but lighter. There's a stillness in your soul that wasn't there before. This stillness is the first sign that you have passed through the fire and survived it. Your energy no longer rushes outward, trying to control life. It moves inward, steady, calm, wise. You start noticing signs that your soul has shifted from pain into peace. Let us speak of these signs, one by one. Sign 1, you no longer need closure. There was a time when your heart demanded explanations. You wanted to know why they left, why it ended, why life treated you unfairly. But now, you no longer chase answers, because you have understood that closure does not come from others. It comes from acceptance. You stop reopening old wounds for the sake of understanding Ibruki because you finally realize that peace is far more valuable than knowing. You close the chapter not out of anger, but from inner maturity. You whisper to yourself, I don't need to know everything to be at peace. Ibruki, and that is freedom. Sign 2, you find peace in solitude. Before, being alone felt like emptiness, but now solitude feels like home. You no longer fill the silence with distractions. You begin to enjoy your own presence. You listen to the sound of your breath, and in that rhythm, you discover something divine. You are enough. Solitude becomes your sanctuary. A space where your mind rests and your spirit grows strong again. Sign 3. You forgive without needing an apology. Forgiveness used to feel impossible, like surrendering your dignity, but now you see it differently. You forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You no longer carry the poison of resentment. You understand that holding on to hate only ties you to the pain. So you release it, not to forget but to free your energy for something higher. Forgiveness, an act of power, not weakness. Sign 4. You stop chasing what drains your soul. You once ran after people, situations, and outcomes, hoping they would complete you. Now you have learned to pause. You recognize when energy feels forced, when it no longer flows naturally. Instead of chasing, you attract. Instead of begging, you allow. You no longer fight to be seen, because your peace is your proof. And that inner calm draws toward you, everything aligned with your growth. When these signs appear in your life, you may feel more quiet, more detached, more observant. This is not indifference, it is wisdom. It means your soul has learned the art of balance. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer grasp, you let things be. This is the beginning of transformation. It is the moment when pain turns into understanding, and understanding blossoms into strength. Your soul is no longer wounded, it is awake. The depth of wisdom, There comes a moment on every spiritual journey when understanding begins to deepen. Not just in the mind, but in the heart. You no longer see life as happening to you. You begin to see life as happening for you. Every experience, delay, every heartbreak, all of it begins to make sense. This is the depth of wisdom. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming aware. You start to notice how the pieces of your past, even the painful ones, fit together like fragments of a greater design. You begin to feel grateful, even for the lessons that once brought you to your knees. Sign 5, you trust divine timing. Before, you tried to control everything. You wanted answers right now, results right now, healing right now. But life doesn't move at the speed of your impatience. It moves at the rhythm of divine order. And when you've passed your soul's hardest test, you no longer fight this rhythm. You flow with it. You understand that every delay is not a denial. It's protection, preparation, and positioning. You stop asking, why is it taking so long? And begin saying, I trust that it's coming when I'm ready. This trust brings peace. And peace is the highest form of faith. Sign 6. You no longer define yourself by your pain. There was a time when your wounds became your identity. You carried them everywhere. Your words, your actions, your silence. But now, when you speak of your past, you speak not as a victim, but as a survivor, as a teacher. You see that your scars are not symbols of weakness, but proof of endurance. They tell the story of how you met darkness and chose to heal anyway. You no longer say, this broke me. You say, this built me. That shift in language is the shift of the soul. Hebrew from suffering to strength, Hebrew from survival to awakening. Sign 7, gratitude, even for the struggle. This is perhaps the highest level of transformation, when you can look at your deepest pain and say, Birshir, thank you. Hebrew, thank you for teaching me who I am. Thank you for revealing who is meant for me and who is not. Thank you for showing me how strong, how resilient, how sacred my spirit truly is. You begin to see that every heartbreak purified your love. Every rejection redirected your path. Every ending was the beginning of your evolution. And in that gratitude, you find peace. Hebrew, not because life is easy, Hebrew, because your soul is finally aligned with truth. Long pause, gentle tone. This is the depth of wisdom. It is when the heart bows to life and says, Ibrihi, I understand now. You stop fighting what is Ibrihi, and instead, you begin to trust what will be. Your tears have watered your awakening. Your silence has grown your strength, and your faith has carried you through the fire, untouched at the core. The rebirth of the soul, Ibrihi. When the soul passes through its greatest trial, first something within you quietly shifts. It is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is still, but powerful. You wake up one morning and realize, Bree, the heaviness you once carried is no longer there. The memories that once hurt now feel distant, almost gentle. You have not forgotten what happened, but it no longer defines you. This is the moment of rebirth, not of the body, but of the spirit. It is when you no longer live in reaction. You live in awareness. You no longer move from fear. You move from understanding. The pain that once blinded you now guides you. Rebirth does not mean becoming someone new. It means returning to who you truly were before the world wounded you. It is remembering your innocence, your courage, your divine connection to life itself. You begin to see the beauty in imperfection, the wisdom in waiting, and the purpose behind every season. You no longer seek revenge, you seek release. You no longer crave validation, you crave alignment. And you no longer chase what is not meant for you. You trust that what is meant will always find its way. This is not weakness, this is strength in its purest form, the strength of stillness. You start to walk differently, you speak with more calm. You listen not to reply but to understand. Even in chaos, you remain centered. Even in uncertainty, you remain grounded. Because you have learned something sacred. Hebrew, peace, is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of perspective. Your rebirth is not seen by the world at first, it is felt in your energy, in your silence, in the way you carry yourself. People who once shook your peace no longer move you. Their words no longer pierce your heart. Their opinions no longer define your worth, because you now know who you are, and that knowing cannot be taken away. You no longer look backward, longing for what was. You no longer look forward with fear of what will be. You live now, fully, consciously, gratefully. Every breath becomes a prayer. Every moment becomes sacred. And one day, you will look back at the version of you who cried, who struggled, who almost gave up. And you will whisper to them, Hebrew, thank you for not surrendering, because that broken version of you was the seed of who you are today. Without the darkness, there would be no dawn. Without the loss, there would be no awakening. So take a deep breath now. Inhale peace. Burkha, exhale the past. Ibruh, feel the new energy within you. Light, calm, clear. You have passed your soul's most painful test. You have burned, and yet you did not turn to ash. You became flame. You are not who you were before. You are who you were always meant to be. Walk gently now with faith in your steps, for your soul has remembered its power. Ibrahi, and your light is ready to shine again.